Most men are driven by one of three hidden psychological forces, and very few ever stop to identify which one controls them. This lack of awareness quietly sabotages everything you touch, your decisions, your alliances, your future. But the few who study themselves the way Machiavelli studied power, who can look in the mirror and name the shadow that actually rules them, stop living as pawns and start playing the game for real. Real power begins the moment a man stops lying to himself and starts confronting the instincts he's been avoiding without letting it use him. If you don't know which of the three dark types governs your instincts, your emotions, your ambition, then it's already steering your choices, shaping your relationships, deciding your future while you pretend you're in control. Most people like to believe they're simply confident, kind, or a little intense, when in reality they're emotionally addicted to being seen, praised, and admired. That's not strength, that's dependence dressed up as greatness. And that is the curse of the first type, the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't truly believe he's great. He's terrified he isn't, and that terror makes him obsessed with how he looks in the eyes of others. He doesn't crave power, he craves praise. The moment he enters any space, his awareness locks onto reactions instead of possibilities. Who's looking at me? Who isn't? Who smiled? Who ignored me? Every moment becomes a silent scoreboard of attention, and his mood rises or collapses based on what he thinks the crowd feels. He calls it confidence, charisma, high standards, but underneath is a fragile pride that shatters at the slightest blow. One criticism and he spirals, replaying it like a wound. One rejection and he starts planning how to prove them wrong or make them regret it. You'll recognize this type by how polished he is, how carefully curated. He talks big, smiles big, projects certainty, but his eyes are always searching for signs of disrespect. Praise makes him glow, indifference makes him anxious, and a challenge makes him crack. Because he doesn't have a stable core, only a collection of mirrors reflecting back the image he's desperate to see. And once those mirrors stop flattering him, once the likes, the compliments, the applause slow down, he feels like he's disappearing. That's why this type will burn relationships, reputations, even his own peace of mind, just to get the feeling of being special back. Because to him, being unseen feels worse than losing everything. Next. And yet, the narcissist can rise shockingly fast, especially in a world addicted to appearances, because he's willing to become whatever wins him applause. In work, in love, in public life, he studies what people worship and turns himself into a living idol of it. Ambitious, charming, inspirational, authentic, on command. While others hesitate, he performs. While others wonder if they're ready, he's already on stage, selling a perfected version of himself. That's why you see this type stacked in leadership, entertainment, even self-help. They shine under the spotlight because they need the spotlight, and that desperation makes them relentless. But here is the cruelty. What lifts him is also what destroys him. The very crowd that crowns him owns him. The moment their attention shifts, their praise cools, their love moves on, his inner world starts collapsing. It's not failure that breaks him, it's the feeling of no longer being special. And facing that, he doesn't quietly accept reality. He clings harder, manipulates, rewrites the story, blames everyone but himself. Anything to avoid the one truth he cannot bear. Without admiration, he doesn't know who he is. But some narcissists don't stay stuck in obvious, loud hunger. They evolve, and that evolution makes them far more dangerous. Instead of just chasing attention, they start studying it the way Machiavelli studied princes, learning what pulls your focus, what melts your guard, what makes you feel seen. They discover that a raw, polished image isn't enough, so they weaponize vulnerability. They tell you their flaws, but only the kind that make them sound brave, deep, or misunderstood. They share their pain, but always in a way that keeps them at the center of the story, the tragic hero who deserves your sympathy, your loyalty, your forgiveness. They'll cry in front of you, confess mistakes, talk about their trauma, and you'll think, no, he's different, he's honest, he's real. But all of it is calibrated to hook you, because once you believe you've seen his true self, you stop questioning his motives. You start defending him to others. You give him the benefit of the doubt long after he's stopped earning it. Slowly, your reality bends. You feel slightly inferior around him, but you can't explain why. You question your own reactions and over-explain your feelings, while he stays calm, assured, untouchable. You become addicted to his approval and terrified of his disappointment. And that's exactly where he wants you, unsure of yourself, sure of him. He doesn't want mutual connection, he wants emotional leverage. Every secret you share becomes a data point. Every compliment you give becomes proof he still owns space in your mind. In the end, you're not in a relationship with him. You're in a relationship with the version of yourself you're desperate for him to validate. Here's the hidden cruelty behind this type. For all the masks he wears, for all the identities he crafts to be admired, the narcissist doesn't actually know who he is, and that emptiness haunts him more than any insult ever could. When the room goes quiet, when the notifications stop, when no one is watching, he feels himself dissolving, because without an audience there is no script, and without a script there is no self. So he runs from silence the way weaker men run from pain, jumping from one performance to the next, one relationship to the next, one reinvention to the next, anything to avoid sitting alone with the question, who am I if no one is impressed? And now you have to ask yourself, does any of this live in you? Are your goals truly your own, or are they just bait for applause? Do you want to grow, or do you just want to look evolved enough to be praised for it? Do you post, speak, strive, even heal for yourself, or for the version of you that you hope other people will worship? Because if you lie to yourself here, you stay trapped in the first cage forever, a lifetime spent performing instead of becoming. But when you finally answer honestly, something rare and brutal happens. The illusion breaks, and beneath the need to be admired, a colder instinct begins to stir, not to be loved, but to win. And that's when the first type starts to die, and the second, darker one, is born, the Machiavellian. The Machiavellian doesn't crave your admiration, he craves your position on the board, your blind spots, your leverage points, and he's always calculating how to use them. If the narcissist is addicted to applause, the Machiavellian is addicted to control. He doesn't need to be liked, he just needs you, predictable. His core belief is simple and ruthless in its clarity. People are not sacred, they are strategic. Tools, levers, assets, liabilities. He doesn't hate you. Hate is too emotional. He simply sees you as a moving piece in a larger game he intends to win. Emotions, to him, are weaknesses to be exploited, not honored. Loyalty is negotiable. Kindness is camouflage. Truth is not a moral duty. It's a weapon he chooses to draw or sheath, depending on what gets him closer to the outcome he wants. You won't always spot this type right away, because he doesn't shine like the narcissist. He sits back, he listens, he lets everyone else talk, argue, posture, confess, while he quietly collects data. You'll mistake his silence for shyness or thoughtfulness, but in reality he's building a map, what you want, what you fear, who you trust, where you're weak. When he finally speaks, it's never a reaction, It's a move, a subtle suggestion that nudges a decision, a well-timed compliment that secures your loyalty, a calculated disagreement that establishes his value. Nothing is random, nothing is innocent. And while you're busy feeling understood, supported, maybe even grateful, he's not bonding with you, he's positioning you. Because the Machiavellian lives by one cold Machiavellian truth. The more you reveal, the more control you surrender, and the man who reveals the least while knowing the most eventually owns the game. You'll usually find the Machiavellian just off-center from the spotlight, close enough to feel the heat, far enough not to be burned, exactly where Machiavelli himself would advise a prince to stand. He's the quiet one in the meeting, who seems unbothered as everyone else argues, but he's taking mental notes on who interrupts whom, who caves under pressure, who secretly resents the boss. He doesn't rush, because time is one of his sharpest weapons. He'd rather let you show your hand fully than win a small battle too early. He rarely loses his temper, not because he's calm in some spiritual sense, but because anger exposes what you care about, and he has no intention of giving you that kind of map. When others broadcast their goals, he says nothing. When others overshare, he asks gentle questions. When others flex, he nods like he's impressed, all the while filing away every insecurity they just revealed. By the time you realize he's dangerous, he's already positioned himself as indispensable, the only one who knows where the bodies are buried, the only one who can fix the messes he quietly allowed to unfold. He doesn't push directly, he nudges. A suggestion here that steers a decision, a strategic omission there that lets a rival hang themselves. A favor offered at the perfect moment so that you owe him, and you feel that debt every time his name comes up. In business, in politics, even in friend groups and families, this is the one who never seems surprised by betrayal because he assumed it from the beginning and built his plans around it. He doesn't need to shout to be feared, he just needs to know what you want, because once he knows your desires, he can script your choices. And while you tell yourself he's just logical or smart with people, you miss the deeper truth. You're not thinking independently anymore, you're thinking inside the parameters he quietly set. What separates the Machiavellian from the clumsy manipulator is restraint. He doesn't lunge, he waits, because every move that doesn't advance his position is wasted energy, and every emotional outburst is free intelligence handed to the enemy. He doesn't threaten when suggestion will do, doesn't lie when a carefully edited truth works better, doesn't burn a bridge unless the fire clears his path. When he hurts you, it's not because he lost it, it's because the timing was right. Your influence needed weakening, your confidence needed shaking, or your loyalty needed testing. When he helps you, it's never just kindness, it's an investment, a debt you'll feel the next time you're forced to choose sides. Alliances with him are always conditional, timed, and stacked in his favor, even when they look generous on the surface. He remembers what you tell him in passing, the favor you begged for once, the secret you swore you'd never share. These details become leverage he may never need, but will never discard. To him, chaos is not frightening. It's an X-ray that shows who panics, who freezes, who adapts. While everyone else scrambles, he stays still, adjusting just one piece at a time until the entire situation bends toward him. And if you confront him, if you accuse him of playing games, he can always fall back on plausible deniability. I just did what made sense. I was only trying to help. You're overthinking it. That's the brilliance Machiavelli understood centuries ago, and this type lives out instinctively. The most effective power doesn't announce itself as power. It arrives disguised as logic, as support, as inevitability. He doesn't get betrayed as often as the naive, but when he does, it hits harder because he has no real support system, only arrangements and alliances that vanish the second they stop being useful. He thinks he's above everyone else, operating on a higher level, but slowly, without noticing, he becomes trapped in his own strategy, unable to be honest, unable to be vulnerable, unable to want anything that isn't tied to advantage. The game consumes the man, and this is where the darkness deepens. Some Machiavellians get tired of pretending to care, tired of waiting for the perfect move, tired of acting like they still believe in anything but power. Strategy loses its flavor, and in that boredom, something more dangerous starts to emerge, a willingness not just to manipulate the board, but to break it. So you have to ask yourself, have you started to see people as levers instead of lives? Do you feel strangely calm in chaos, almost excited because it gives you an edge? Have your relationships turned into transactions, your kindness into calculation, your identity into strategy? If so, you may feel sharper, stronger, less naive than you used to, but you're also drifting toward a place from which there's no easy return. Because beyond the cold planner lies the third type, the one who no longer needs a game at all, the psychopath. The psychopath doesn't need your approval, your trust, or even your fear. He doesn't need anything from you at all, and that is what makes him terrifying. If the narcissist is fueled by admiration and the Machiavellian by control, the psychopath is fueled by pure will, unchained from guilt, shame, or hesitation. He doesn't sit around gaming out 10 moves ahead like a strategist. He moves the moment he decides, and by the time everyone else has finished calculating risks, he's already acted and changed the landscape. You won't always spot him by chaos. On the surface, he's often calm, even eerily so. While others panic, argue, or break down, he watches with flat eyes, taking everything in without flinching, because consequences don't land on him the way they do on you. Laws, norms, morals, those are leashes other people have agreed to wear. To him, they're just suggestions he can ignore when they get in the way of what he wants. He can lie without blinking, walk away without remorse, hurt you without second-guessing, not because he's trying to be evil, but because he doesn't feel the weight that would stop someone else. Predators aren't driven by hatred. Indifference does the damage. And here's the most unnerving part. He knows exactly how you expect a good person to act, and he can mimic it perfectly. He'll say the right words, mirror the right emotions, even cry if that's what the moment demands, but inside, nothing moves. Empathy, regret, attachment, those are roles he can play, not experiences he actually has. That's why he thrives when everything falls apart. When institutions crumble, when leaders fail, when everyone else freezes under the pressure of, what if this goes wrong? He steps forward, unburdened. In a world built on shared illusions, morality, fairness, mutual responsibility, the one who no longer believes in those illusions at all wields a kind of power that looks almost godlike. The power to act without restraint, while everyone else is still begging their conscience for permission. But don't confuse this with freedom, because the psychopath's power comes with a cost so high most men couldn't survive it. He has cut out the parts of himself that could ever truly belong to anything, and what's left is effective but empty. He can win the war, crush the rival, walk away from the wreckage without a flicker of remorse, but when the dust settles, there's no one he trusts enough to stand beside him, no bond he values enough to protect, no cause he believes in beyond the thrill of domination itself. He doesn't spiral like the narcissist when he's rejected, and he doesn't recalibrate like the Machiavellian when a plan fails. He simply shuts down, because he never learned how to suffer, only how to overpower. His victories feel sharp but shallow. His days a string of moments that have impact but no meaning. And here's the twisted tragedy. Many weak men secretly envy this type, thinking, if I could just stop caring, I'd finally be strong, without realizing they're fantasizing about a life with no real joy, no love, no peace, just an endless series of high-stakes scenes with no story holding them together. The psychopath may rule the room, but he never feels at home in it. His name might echo in stories, but no one truly grieves when he's gone, because you can't mourn what was never fully there. So now you have to face the real question: which one of these lives in you, and which one is actually ruling? Are you secretly the narcissist, chasing praise and calling it purpose, terrified of being ordinary and mistaking applause for identity? Are you drifting into the Machiavellian, treating people like pieces and calling it strategy, calm on the surface, but unable to want anything that isn't tied to advantage? Or are you flirting with the psychopath's mindset, numbing yourself, glorifying coldness, telling yourself that feeling nothing is the same as being untouchable? Most people are ruled by one, heavily influenced by another, and pretending they're none, and that self-deception is exactly what keeps them easy to control, from the outside and from within. The only path out is brutal honesty, the kind Machiavelli wrote about when he stripped away comforting illusions and asked, how do things actually work? When you finally admit which dark instinct drives your choices, you don't become weaker, you become aware, and awareness is the beginning of power. Not the fake power of image or intimidation, but the real power of someone who can govern himself. The man who sees the narcissist in himself can discipline it, using his desire to be seen as fuel to actually become someone worth seeing. The man who sees the Machiavellian can sharpen it, using strategy to protect, to build, not just to manipulate. The man who sees the psychopath can chain it, keeping that ruthless edge for when life demands courage, not cruelty. He's not innocent, not soft, not nice, but he is sovereign over his own shadow. And in a world of people who are sleepwalking through their own psychology, that kind of self-mastery is the rarest power there is. If any part of this cut close, don't just click away and forget it. Say it out loud in the comments. I master my shadow. Let's see how many here are actually ready to stop being driven by their darkness and start directing it. And when you're done, keep watching the next video, because understanding the game is only the beginning. Learning how to play it without losing yourself is where the real work starts.